Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we have a big update in the Tim Norman case. That is Tim from Welcome to Sweetie Pie's fame. It seems like he has another obstacle to overcome. Let's get into it. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. What I am about to share with you is a press release coming out of the Department of Justice with the United States Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Missouri, and it was issued on Friday, July 22nd for immediate release. And you all know that in the Tim Norman case, Tim Norman is the son of Robbie Montgomery, who owns Sweetie Pie's restaurants in St. Louis, Missouri. And they also had a television show on the OWN network called Welcome to Sweetie Pies. And about a month ago, maybe not even a month ago, I brought a video to you where one of Tim's co-conspirators pleaded guilty. And for those of you who are not familiar with this case, I'll drop some links in the top of this video. You'll see the highlights pop up and you can click on those and go to the videos that talk about the case in detail and developments that have occurred over the past couple of years since Tim was officially arrested, along with 3 co-conspirators that included the gunman, a young lady that was working with Tim to kind of like smoke Andre out, and then an insurance salesman who actually sold Tim multiple insurance policies that he could collect on in the event that Andre passed away. And all along, it was Tim's plan for Andre to die sooner rather than later. So let's go ahead and jump into this. 2 defendants enter guilty pleas in Sweetie Pie's murder for hire scheme. And this is coming out of St. Louis. It says United States District Court Judge John A. Ross accepted a plea of guilty from Terica Tanisha Ellis and Wael Rabbi Yagnam on today's date. Y'all forgive me. So this Yagnam guy, the insurance agent, he was actually worked on the rapper Nelly's, I think his first project. He was a part of that somehow. And so that piqued a lot of interest. Like, well, why you out here committing crimes, boy? Sell your insurance. But he was trying to win a cruise. I think the insurance company he worked for was giving away cruises to like the top 10 salespeople or something like that. And so he out here trying to get all these policies for Tim, trying to meet the quota so he could go on this cruise. And now it has landed him in prison for a very long time. So it says a grand jury in the Eastern District of Missouri previously indicted Yagnam and Ellis in August of 2020. Additional charges were filed in November 2020 for Yagnam and Ellis for their roles in the murder for hire scheme involving James Timothy Norman and the death of Andre Montgomery. Judge Ross set sentencing for October 26, 2022. And so Tim is set to go on trial in September, and I want to say it's September 14th because that's actually my father's birthday. I know somebody's going on trial, or that might be the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, but I know there's like a high profile case that's supposed to start on my dad's birthday. But Tim's trial was set to start in September, which lets us know that these people are going to testify against Tim. That's why their sentencing is after the fact. So according to the plea agreements, beginning at a time unknown, but up to and including March 14, 2016, and through the date of the superseding information in the city of St. Louis, hold on a second, and elsewhere within the Eastern District of Missouri, Terica Ellis, James Timothy Norman, and others reached an agreement to use a facility of interstate commerce, namely a cellular telephone, to commit a murder for hire in exchange for United States currency, in violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 1958. In 2014, Norman obtained a $450,000 life insurance policy on his 20-year-old nephew, Andre Montgomery, on which Norman was the sole beneficiary. Now, what we have learned covering these cases is that the feds will slap you with violations of interstate commerce and intrastate commerce, because what they're saying is if you buy a mobile phone which was built in another country possibly, or in another state other than the state that you're in, you buy that phone, you could buy it from the local Walmart, but it was made in an area outside of your state, and then you use that phone in the commission of a crime, then you have violated federal law, which is interstate and intrastate commerce. Okay, so I don't know how you get around it at this point. You used to buy burner phones, but now they can track the burner phones. You have to use your credit card and all that to activate the phone. So put those phones down and go back. You can't even really use snail mail because the way they be imaging your stuff at the U.S. Postal Service, because do you get those email alerts telling you what mail is coming in, what mail you're going to get that day? And you can actually read what is in your envelope from the image, but when the mail comes, it's like a solid white envelope that you cannot see through or read the stuff, but when they image it, you can read basically what, like the first few paragraphs of the letter. So child, when y'all mailing stuff, fold it right in, don't fold it out, fold it in, and then wrap it in a couple of sheets of paper so people can't read, or the government can't read what is in your mail. So moving on, Ellis and Norman had been involved in a sexual relationship for several years preceding the events of March 14, 2016. At Norman's request, Ellis met him at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel, where they spoke and engaged in sexual intercourse. Afterward, Norman and Ellis spoke about Norman's nephew, Andre Montgomery. Norman showed her a photograph of Montgomery and asked if she knew him. Now, Tim, several years. So that means that when he was with Janelle, he was cheating with this girl. And when he was with Jennifer Williams from the Basketball Wives, he was messing with this girl. And his sole purpose of messing with this girl was because somehow he knew that she knew Andre and she would be able to help him with this scheme. So this is something Tim had been plotting for several years, guys. So Ellis advised that she had previously met Montgomery at Bottoms Up, an exotic dance club in East St. Louis, where she worked as a dancer. Norman advised Ellis that he was looking for Montgomery and needed her help to find him. Norman further explained that he was upset with his nephew. She informed Norman that Montgomery had introduced himself to her as a rapper from New Orleans while at Bottoms Up, and that they had exchanged phone numbers at the time. Ellis agreed to assist Norman in locating Montgomery. On March 14, 2016, Norman had advised her that he was looking for his nephew, and Ellis knew that Norman was upset and frustrated by his inability to locate Montgomery, and knew that Norman was going to take some form of action relative to Montgomery. Despite this, Ellis did not take any affirmative steps to disavow or defeat the purpose of the commission of violent criminal activity on March 14, 2016. Because, girl, you should have called Andre and said, boy, you better get out of town because your uncle is coming for you. But she didn't do that. She saw dollar signs, and she put those dollar signs over the well-being of multiple people, from Andre to her daughter, who is now about to grow up without her mother. So in the days leading up to Montgomery's murder, Ellis communicated with Montgomery and informed him that she was planning to be in St. Louis. On March 13, 2016, the day before Montgomery's murder, Norman flew to St. Louis, Missouri from his home in Los Angeles, California. On March 14, 2016, Ellis and Norman communicated using temporary phones activated that day. Ellis also used the temporary phone to communicate with Montgomery and learn his physical location for the purpose of luring Montgomery outside. And then they left out the part that after Andre was shot and killed, that she tossed it in the garbage can, and they were able to retrieve the doggone phone out of the trash. So immediately after learning Montgomery's location, Ellis placed a call to Norman. On March 14, 2016, at approximately 8:02 p.m., Montgomery was killed by gunfire at 3964 Natural Bridge Avenue in the city of St. Louis. Ellis's phone location information places her in the vicinity of the murder at the time of the homicide. Immediately following Montgomery's murder, Ellis placed a call to Norman and then began traveling to Memphis, Tennessee. In the days after the murder, Ellis accepted a cash payment of $10,000 in U.S. currency from Norman in exchange for, among other things, finding out the location of Montgomery, causing him to come outside, and relaying the location information to co-defendants Norman and Tre'vell Hill. Hill subsequently shot and killed Montgomery. Hill pled guilty to the charges on June 3, 2022. So on March 15, 2016, the day after Montgomery's homicide, Ellis deposited, yes she did, y'all, she took the murder for hire money and put it in a bank account where it was easily traceable. So she deposited $3,020 in U.S. currency into her checking account at the Orange Mound branch of the East Horizon Bank in Memphis, Tennessee. On the same date, she also deposited $4,340 into a savings account opened that day at the same bank in Memphis, Tennessee, for a total of $7,360 in cash deposits. On March 17, 2016, Ellis deposited an additional $1,900 in U.S. currency into her checking account at the same branch. These deposits were all cash proceeds from the agreement she had made with Norman. Whew, child. Let's see here. Now, Terica. Okay. Let's see here. So on March 18, 2016, Norman contacted the life insurance company in an attempt to collect on the life insurance policy he had obtained on his nephew. According to Yagnum's plea agreement prior to Montgomery's murder, Norman conspired with Yagnum, his insurance agent, to fraudulently obtain a life insurance policy on Montgomery, beginning in October of 2014. Norman and Yagnum submitted 3 separate life insurance applications, all containing numerous false statements regarding Montgomery's income, net worth, medical history, employment, and family background. And guys, remember, I have other videos that go into detail about all of this, like what they were submitting, how desperate they were, how they were going to different places, different people, and I'll drop some of those links above. So in the life insurance policy that ultimately issued, Norman obtained a $200,000 policy as well as $200,000 incidental death rider that would pay out if Montgomery died of something other than natural causes, and a $50,000 10-year term rider that would pay out if Montgomery died within 10 years of the policy's issuance in 2014. Following the murder of Andre Montgomery, Yagnum placed 2 telephone calls to one of the insurance agencies seeking to file a claim on the insurance policy James Timothy Norman owned on the victim. On March 30th, 2016, Yagnam placed a phone call to Forrester's insurance agency lasting 10 minutes and 2 seconds. On May 21st, 2016, Norman submitted to Forrester's via U.S. mail a written claim on his life insurance policy on Andre Montgomery. On July 6, 2016, Norman received a letter via U.S. mail from Forrester's indicating that Forrester still had not received the finalized policy. I think they mean policy. They got police here. Oh, the finalized police, toxicology, and coroner's reports necessary to process his claim on the life insurance policy. Between August of 2016 and November of 2016, Norman repeatedly contacted Forrester's in connection with his attempt to claim his life insurance policy. Okay, but Tim, they told you what they needed. They needed the police report, the toxicology report, and the coroner's report. So why was you reaching out to them people, harassing them when they told you what they needed and that they weren't going to pay the policy? And if you couldn't get that information, I mean, you were a family member. I'm not sure why you weren't able to get the information, but in any event, you should have let it go. You should have just let it go, Tim. So in or about September of 2018, Norman retained an attorney to represent him in connection with his attempt to claim the Forrester's life insurance policy. That attorney subsequently sent a letter to Forrester's indicating that Norman had authorized the attorney to file a lawsuit for failure to promptly pay the life insurance claim. On September 26, 2019, Forrester sent Norman a letter via U.S. mail advising that as of the date of the letter, Forrester still had not received all the documentation required to adjudicate his claim on the life insurance policy. Now, why did that lawyer send that letter to the insurance company? Why didn't he just tell Tim what Tim needed to submit to the people and tell Tim that they are not going to pay these claims until you submit this information? And why are you not submitting the information? Whew, child. But anyway, behind the scenes, the feds were working and people were giving up information. And Forrester's was like, something about this ain't right. And then the attorney probably was in on it. Everybody was in on it. And then came the indictments in 2020. So co-defendant Travell Hill pleaded guilty and is awaiting sentencing scheduled for September 20th, 2022. James Timothy Norman is currently awaiting trial. This case was investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. So, I mean, at this point, Tim needs to stop playing. He needs to stop wasting tax dollars with this. And he needs to go ahead and confess, because there's no way he is going to be found not guilty unless he has like a rabbit in the hat somewhere that he is going to pull out, because all three of these people are going to testify against him. Like, this is just so crazy. And let's continue to pray for Miss Robbie, because her son is obviously crazy. And just pray for her strength. She says she's standing by her son no matter what, because that's what mothers do. And pray for little Timmy, who now has to grow up knowing that his father is a cold-blooded murderer who killed his cousin. So guys, that is it for me. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and then do something wonderful and beautiful for yourself and your family on this beautiful Sunday. Bye-bye.